the lady who did the 100 guys, OF model did 100 guys in 8 hours. Now she did 1,000 guys in a day.
Did she?
That's not objectively wrong to you.
Ruslan.
When I think about how I do morality as a nihilist, it's sort of like being suspended in midair.
Okay.
I've decided to live my life in such a way that it would bring about the society that I want to live in 50 years from now.
Okay.
I don't believe that moral actions have eternal, unending consequences. I think that they have temporary, real consequences. If you want to bastardize your children and, become a workaholic and become estranged from your wife, I think you can do that. I don't think God's going to smite you, but I don't think you want to do that. Mm-hmm. If you're really thinking logically and you're thinking about the long-term implications of that, I don't think you want that. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you want to come to a point where you're 70 and you've regretted all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for the vast majority of people, they don't need the religious add-on to that.
Do you think they can come to those conclusions on their own, though?
Can they come to those conclusions on their own?
I think there's a conscious that we all have that's wired by God. I would say that's eternity is written on the hearts of man.
Sure.
Right. And I think there's they that had no law were a law unto themselves, Romans 2. So I think there's that. But do you think most people can figure all of this out intrinsically?
Or do they need the guardrails of the church and the Bible?
Yeah. Community, guardrails of the Bible and community.
I think the majority of people would be fine without it.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think.
Because I think that I'm a really smiley person.
You're a very happy person.
I'm a very happy person, which is hilarious because I think humans are worthless.
Mm-hmm. You said it.
I did. Again, I'm not a spokesperson for atheists. I can't turn that off. And I don't think that having a Bible verse that said, be nice and tip your waitress would really change how I do things. I think that I can't turn off who I am as a person. When you're talking about really difficult and austere actions as people, doing the right thing, I don't think that that's how you get people there.
I think you take for granted how good your parents are.
Oh, they're wonderful.
And were to you.
And I probably do.
And wired you for that. As someone that comes from communism, I'd argue the conclusions of but
imagine
things.
That you weren't a believer. How would you raise your kids? Wouldn't you still tell them to be kind and generous?
I don't even know if I'd have kids if I was a believer. I don't know if I'd even be here if I wasn't a believer.
Why?
Because I would have likely gotten myself arrested and got caught up in the revolving door of that system.
Do you think that you need...
I did get myself arrested at age 11. And had I not become a believer, I probably would have stayed on a similar trajectory. So I say that to say, coming from communism, coming from a freakishly godless environment as a child.
Yeah.
I don't remember going to church ever as a kid back in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
I was not naturally generous. I had to learn to be generous. I had to learn to be an above average tipper at a restaurant, to be a blessing to people, and not necessarily write a Bible verse every time I leave a fat tip. I had to learn that. I had to learn to live below my means. I had to learn to love neighbor. I had to learn to listen and not just pile drive through people I disagree with, right? And try to build rapport and all that. All of that I had to learn. In the same way I would say, we have to learn to drive a car. You got to learn to drive a car. You got to go to driver's ed. You got to take the test. You got to pass the test. And you got a 6-month window where you can't have anybody in your car with you when you're a teenage driver. And then you get to drive normal. And then at 18, I think you get your full license or whatever. But we think and we assume that like marriage and parenting will just come to us naturally. And I just don't think they come to us naturally. I think nurture may come to women naturally to nurture their babies, but I don't think that these things are natural for us to be. A husband ought to lay down his life for his wife the way Christ laid down his life for his church. I don't think that's a natural thing. And I think you have a temperament that is, I would say, a lot of nature and nurture. I think some of that was probably passed down genetically by your parents because they sound like good people. And some of that was probably nurtured. There's so much of your temperament that was probably caught and not overtly taught.
So yes, I would say that it was largely taught to me.
You think you take it for granted?
Sure. I'm really hesitant though, the idea that like, oh man, secular people or even atheists aren't able to like raise, healthy, well-adapted.
That wasn't my claim.
I'm probably misstating it. But I mean, at a wide scale, like I lived in the Netherlands for a little while, and I think that they were doing well and thriving.
Yeah, but I would argue the Scandinavian nations are still built on the back of Christian virtues and values that they probably take for granted. Just like your kids, even you stay atheist, you marry an atheist.
Sure.
You have kids. There will be things you pass down to them.
Yeah.
That, in my opinion, I could draw a through line and say these are probably things from your parents who love Jesus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, and I mean, any positive things that Christians and Christianity has added to the discussion, in any way in which they've moved the needle forward, I want to celebrate that.
Okay.
I'm all about that.
I have a massive update for you. I'm sure by this point, you've heard about the Blessed God Summit happening March 27th, 28th, 29th here in beautiful Carlsbad, California. But we've heard your requests. We've conceded to your demand. There are virtual tickets that are now available for the Blessed God Summit, so you can access it from anywhere in the world, as well as access to the replays. And for those of you guys that are looking for something extra, we're also offering a virtual ticket and an exclusive Bless God Summit merch bundle. There's some amazing art and some exclusive pieces done by our friend Josh Nadeau from Sword and Pencil that you have to check out. So join us online for the virtual event and experience some sessions from my favorite podcasters, pastors, and performers. We have a stacked lineup. I'm talking about Preston Perry, Dr. Sean McDowell, Inspiring Philosophy. What do you mean? Lila Rose, Alan Parr, and his wife Jen Parr. We even have Nate Sala from Wise Disciple, Gavin Ortland, David Wood, Avery from God Logic Apologetics. And on the pastoral side, we have my friend Daniel Golding, Pastor Ed Newton from CBC in San Antonio, and my personal pastor from Rhythm Church, Pastor Jeff Moores and his wife Erin Moores. You won't want to miss out from amazing performances from America's Got Talent winner Dustin Savella, Billboard charting hip-hop artist John Keith and Miles Minnick, and as seen on Jordan Peterson's We Who Wrestle with God tour, Dirt Poor Robbins. And we're still finalizing a few more speakers. So head over to blessgod.shop, get your virtual ticket now, and you can get yourself a bundle with some of the exclusive merch as well. I'll see you over there, all right? Peace.
I mean, maybe to kind of drive this home, I think that if, the majority of the atheists in the world, or if the majority of the people in the world tomorrow just woke up and became an atheist, I think that it wouldn't change a ton. Now, maybe you can say like, hey, the kindness and the virtue that they've inherited has come from Christianity. Totally fine. But I think that when I see people deconverting, I don't see them loving their kids any less. The place where my nihilism, where the rubber meets the road, is my ability to say objectively that one set of circumstances is less desirable than another at an objective level. I can say I don't like it. I can say I don't like it when your friend cheats on his wife and has multiple kids with multiple women. I can't say that it's wrong in an objective sense.
No. I appreciate you saying that. And so I think we would, because I was going to ask you about the lady who did the 100 guys, the OF model did 100 guys in 8 hours. Now she did 1,000 guys in a day.
Did she?
Oh yeah,
1,000?
1,000, bro. Yeah,
with the same girl.
Same girl.
Interesting.
Do the math on that. If you really want to be grossed out.
2 pump chump, man.
Yeah, bro. No, I'm talking multiple folks all at once.
Oh
yeah. So
I'm just saying. Yeah,
that's not objectively wrong to you. That's not objectively subjectively wrong.
I can say that that what people are feeling is a very innate sense of disgust, and I would say that that's an evolutionary byproduct. To me, I haven't seen the videos about her. Certainly haven't seen the videos.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, if she's able to live with the ramifications of that,
more power to her. Huh?
More power to her.
Wow. Really?
I mean, what else can you say? Like, who is being wronged in that? You know, like maybe,
herself. She's harming herself.
well, but I mean,
She's harming
like,
those men.
you've got a streak of libertarianism in you, don't you? I mean, you
Sure.
think that people should be able to, you know, smoke weed or drink, right?
No, man. I think the more conservative and older I get, and the more I have kids, I become less and less libertarian, bro.
That's fair.
You know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's not even just a question of, you know, should she be able to do it? It's, yeah, is it objectively wrong, or is it just a thing that we all find detestable because we have these, you know, vestigial mate guarding preferences that kind of manifest in us villainizing female sexuality.
Wouldn't we have evolved from that though? And now we're in this new space.
Well, we should
where
have,
women
but
are
those
liberated.
neural networks run deep, man.
They run
I
deep.
think that
It's about pleasure. You know, dopamine highs, pleasure, enjoy yourself.
well,
Who does it harm?
it should be, but I think that, you know, we also have all of these vestigial cultural customs around mate guarding, you know, being jealous.
I'm not jealous for her.
Well, I mean, but you know, if somebody had a fat crush on her and saw her do that, they would be jealous.
Would you want your daughter to do that?
Probably not,
Why?
because I think it wouldn't be good for her. I think it wouldn't make her happy.
Why?
In the long run.
Why?
What do you mean?
Why? Why would it not be good for her and not make her happy?
I think probably, you know, there's a chance that she might regret it later on.
Okay.
But the scope of and scale of that is still within her lifetime.
I'm not saying that girl could never become a Christian and go to heaven.
No,
that wasn't.
for sure.
I'm not saying that either. Okay. So you said if everyone became an atheist, you don't think the world would get much better?
Or worse.
Worse, excuse me. But have you? I've shared this with Alex. You think there's anything to the rise of new atheism and trying to secularize the world in the past 20 years, and now we're at a place with. I'm not saying everything the right does is perfect, and I'm not a Magonite. You know what I mean? But goodness gracious, the stuff on the left, the downward effects of let's make things less religious and make it all about whatever makes you happy and whatever makes you good, and there's no objective standard. And so, can you see the through line of making the world more secular, and then something just rises up? In my opinion, that's worse to that, because I think that the conclusion that many people are coming to, and I think why there's a resurgence in Christianity, is folks are looking at, hey, what are the alternatives? The alternative seems to be leftism, which we're now finding that the empirical data with kids transitioning is not good for kids transitioning. It's not helpful for them, right? It's bad. I think we could say that almost with certainty now in terms of the studies that are coming out. It's like the conclusions of that seems to be radical leftism, or radical leftism with, yeah, she could sleep with 1,000 dudes. Great, good for her, right? Or Islam. Look at Muhammad being the #1 name in London, right? For babies. Like the new atheism, the fruits of new atheism. Do you see any merit to that?
Well, I don't see the thread of the new atheism leading to a rise in Islam. Unless you're arguing that like the new atheist cause,
remove the cathedrals, remove the churches, remove the church.
So they caused a decrease in the birth rate,
and then a paradigm where like we'll take people in who have zero desire to assimilate to any sort of even secular humanistic Western ideal, and they're gonna have their own little Sharia law courts, which that's a real thing. That's not a rumor. That's a real thing. And rock out.
There's a lot there. I don't know how to tie that all together.
You think? I'm just asking: is there any merit? So I'm assuming you disagree, but is there any merits to like the through line there?
With which part?
The very things that Richard Dawkins is afraid to talk about and is uncomfortable with: radical leftism, transition, gender ideology.
He's not afraid to talk about that.
Well, he doesn't like it.
Right.
I'm sorry, not afraid to talk about it. He doesn't like it. He's not a fan of it. Hasn't he been ostracized and been called a bigot for some of that same stuff? That and Islam, he really is afraid to talk about Islam from what I've gathered, right? Those are the things that have risen since the world has become more secular, since new atheism has gotten a swish.
Again, man, my goal is not to be a spokesperson for atheists or, proselytize atheism. My goal is to help religious people do religion well.
Well, fair enough. That's a beautiful answer, Jared. Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to comment below and subscribe and all that good stuff. And check out this other video that YouTube seems to be recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right? I'll see you over there. Peace.